Hello everybody, welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Josh.
Happy New Year, Scott Tilford.
Happy New Year, it's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for NFTs. They're all over the place, can't get enough of them. So we thought we would break down the reality of NFTs across the board, because most major video game publishers have now released statements, whether they be through interviews or specific official statements, on the reality of how they're going to be implementing NFTs going forward, with Konami's being one of the most recent, because it is Castlevania's 35th anniversary, and a lot of people thought, well, maybe they'll do something special for it. Maybe they'll put out a fancier version of an older game, maybe they'll up-res something, maybe they'll do something that's worthy of a 35, year anniversary. Instead, they're holding an NFT auction where you can go online and buy old school pixel art, you can buy screen grabs from the games, you can buy some specific pieces of more unique artwork that different artists have put together at different limited time windows, for NFTs. You're going on there, you go on the website, you can buy the NFTs, and that is their approach. So this comes after Square Enix got out there with Square Enix's CEO, Yasuke Matsuda, who did a more official statement at the end of the year last year, actually maybe at the very beginning of this year, recognizing that there are people who like to play video games for fun. He recognizes that, and he recognizes that those people...
So grateful.
He recognizes that those people have voiced their reservations about NFTs in video games, but he likes to think of it as a play-to-contribute model, and he says that, he likes to think of it in regards to user-generated content. He likes to think of the reality of people making custom assets and selling them, which is, if we separate everything, a more positive use of NFTs.
Right.
But there's so much to this. But what's your initial thoughts on the mixture of Konami and Square Enix getting out there and just relying on those things as a good thing overall?
I mean, I think, it's interesting which studios have gone all in on NFTs so far. Like you said, you got Konami now, you've got Square Enix, you've got Ubisoft, and they are studios that, while they can make nice games, are studios that I do not necessarily trust to do the best things for their employees, or certainly for gamers who actually like the projects that they are behind.
Who play for fun. Yeah.
Or people who play for fun, which I will definitely get to in a minute. But just going back to the way that NFTs have been pushed at the end of last year and at the start of this year reminds me of the age-old trick that the video game industry likes to do, and that's say something so many times until they can manifest it and make it real. It's like when they said that single-player games were dead. It's like when they said that consoles were dead. It's like when they said that mobile games were the future. You know what I mean? If they just say it without giving you any proof, without giving you any statistics, they kind of want to will it into existence, and that's the exact same vibe I get from NFTs, because like they're even pointing it out, it seems like so many people have reservations, so many people are saying this is not what we want, but they're forging ahead anyway, and they're going all in on just committing to putting them in their games over the future and future releases, and it's just like, I'm embracing myself for impact, my friend. I'm embracing myself.
The thing is, it is fascinating watching every major publisher react to the reality of NFT integration, because if you look at the legal side of it, it's per country. But in terms of the UK, for example, HMRC are yet to really legislate or regulate or really talk about in a legal capacity the implementation of NFTs. It's very, like I said, it's per country. There was that whole video that got out there from America, was a whole congressional hearing or whatever it was on NFT regulation, and just people trying to understand the damn thing. Because it is that distinction between, you're owning an NFT for something, i.e. you are owning a visual of something, but you don't own the copyright, you don't own the code, you don't own the license itself, you just own the ownership itself of the visual of the thing. So I just think of it, if you want a really easy way to break it down, and I said this to you before we started recording, but for other people, if you imagine a DLC skin pack for a game, but it was only exclusive to you, that's largely the NFT mentality. You're buying something that is just for you, it's aesthetic, it's cosmetic, in a video game space. And then you could then maybe resell it using an in-game marketplace, and that's where the whole user-generated content comes in, because maybe you would make a custom asset and sell it in-game, etc., etc. But the idea of exclusive skin packs, exclusive aesthetics, exclusive cosmetics, that's the philosophy behind it. Either that makes you go, that's really, really cool, or you go, oh my god, that's monstrous, why can't everybody have the thing that I want to wear, that I want to design, whatever. So that's largely the crux of it. But like I said, it's been fascinating watching all the other companies come in and sort of wade in. Because another thing from Ubisoft Ubisoft, lol to Ubisoft, their approach was to launch the Ubisoft Quartz platform, which is their NFT platform in itself. As you'll find diving into NFT stuff, there's a million different platforms that NFTs themselves get traded on across the blockchain. But Ubisoft's approach was to make Ubisoft Quartz, which was them saying that you can buy skins in-game. And one of the ones that they launched was Ghost Recon Breakpoint, had specific helmets that had been tokenized, that had been made official, that you could go on there and you could play to earn. Now, do you want to hazard a guess at how many hours you needed to play to earn this particular helmet?
I bet it's piss loads. Please tell me.
It is 600, Josh Brown. And if you put 600 hours into Ghost Recon Breakpoint, they'll give you a nice little grey helmet skin that you can then go on Ubisoft Quartz and trade for real money. Now, again, do you want to guess how many people have been on the Ubisoft Quartz platform?
I bet it's piss few.
It is actually, it's a very tiny number. It's only 15 people put the requisite time in to unlock that helmet and then try to trade it. Which, I mean, yeah, only 15 transactions, 15 different people as of December 2021. So even that approach isn't doing very, very well. What's your current thoughts before I bring in more companies?
I just kind of want to circle back to one of the most apocalyptic phrases I've ever heard that you mentioned earlier, which is those three words. Which was it? Was it play to contribute, or maybe even pay to contribute? See, that's just like the phrasing of it is like dystopian. Like the way that reads to me is someone who enjoys video games and is probably in that bracket of what he's talking about, of people who like to play for fun. You know, play to contribute just has such negative connotations, and it makes it to me so clear that so many of these business people in these companies just view you as a way to contribute to their ecosystems, contribute to their economies, and nothing else. They don't care if you enjoy doing that. They just want to psychologically get you in the most entrenched way, so you feel like you need to spend money. And the entire industry has had a problem with kind of capitalizing on artificial scarcity and FOMO, the fear of missing out, for a long time now when it comes to their monetization practices. Like that might be in kind of like battle passes or storefronts which cycle through on a weekly basis, so you only get a certain amount of time to buy a certain skin, for instance. Or it might be in Nintendo's approach to it, which is just equally mad, where they're like, we're going to create like 5 mini SNESs and you can fight over them, or we're going to create like 2 amiibos every 6 months and you can fight over them, or we might put Mario on sale until March and then delist it, you know what I mean? It's all about this idea that if you're not on the ball, you're going to be missing something, and they prey on that so much, and that's all I see written all over NFTs and indeed these statements.
And also, their defense right now is leaning on what would be one of the only defenses of NFTs, which is the idea of digital artists being paid, or the idea of user-generated content being worth something in a digital space. That's very much what a lot of these different companies lean on. And you'll hear that those sentiments doing the rounds, you know, in regards to, you know, you spend all this money or you spend all this time acquiring an NFT for something, and it'll translate across multiple games, or multiple different pieces of media, which there are already game developers out there completely debunking that, just going like, well, they're completely different code sets, different game engines, etc., across, you know, even 2 games of the same franchise sometimes, and there's very little way that would work, although that is a potential going forward. But the thing that Yasuke Matsuda said from Square Enix about relying on user-generated content and that being an exciting thing, I personally do think that as an isolated statement that is true. I think the idea of, you know, digital user-generated content, you know, having an actual price tag, maybe there's a marketplace for it, maybe there's a more healthy relationship between developers and you know, the user base and everything else. Maybe there's a way for that to work, but I think until the legal side of it is sorted, until the general understanding side of it is sorted, it's only just going to be companies abusing the living hell out of it for as long as they can, seeing what they can get away with, until there's enough pushback, loot box style, for things to actually get fairer. No,
I mean, like one of the best and biggest things that the industry does is give you something that is mostly horrific, but have like a nugget of positivity in there that they always lean back on, whether that's them saying, you know, you don't have to buy microtransactions, it's all for player choice. Like there's always a good little soundbite that almost that they push to make this stuff feel good. And this reminds me of when Bethesda and I think a few other publishers started making suites where you had to pay for mods, and they would take a little cut of it, and their line was, well, now the people who are making the mods are going to get paid for it. But that kind of just carpeted it over the then new reality of them kind of like being in charge, them limiting things, them kicking out mods that they didn't like or clamping down and stuff like that. And it's just all the times with this stuff, there is an element that they definitely put out so people can go, well, this might be good, this might turn out well. It never turns out well. It's never turned out well. And it always is bad. And I don't want to be cynical right at the very start of the year, but we've seen it with microtransactions, we've seen it with battle passes, we've seen it with season passes. These things always get bad before they get good or regulated. They always see, and I mean like industry, people and publishers, they always see how much they can get away with, how much they can nickel and dime with us before there's a backlash like Star Wars Battlefront 2, where they kind of say, all right, we're not going to be this bad anymore, and then they do something else. But it will get to that point, because it always gets to that point.
Yeah, and Battlefront 2, that was the thing. 2017 was the year that everything changed for microtransactions and loot boxes and more egregious, like hiding so many elements behind a random, dropper kind of thing. RNG, hiding everything behind RNG. Because 2017 was Battlefront 2, it was Shadow of War, it was For Honor, it was all these different games that should have been premium and should have been incredible, completely dogged by those systems. But that was 4 years into the generation. I think that a lot of people are getting on the NFT stuff now to just say, this is not what we want in our video games, or at least if you're going to do this, you need to regulate it better, you need to be fairer, you need to make sure that everything is clear as to what people are actually buying into, and not this nebulous idea of, getting something that they can trade later, which I think is the core philosophy behind why you would get invested in this. And in video games and game-specific stuff, franchise-specific stuff, they just don't have any worth. They only have worth within that specific game. And so it's going to be for each individual company to figure out. But to throw another couple ones in, Sega have said that they'll be doing NFT content later this year, and hopefully around the summer. Andrew Lootbox Wilson, to give him his full name from EA, has said that, it's interestingly for them, I thought EA would dive the hell in, but his comment, he reckons that it's too early to figure out how all of this is going to work, which does line up with what Phil Spencer said, Mr. Xbox himself. Interesting to note that Jim Ryan hasn't said anything. Sony don't have an official stance. Sony PlayStation don't have an official stance on NFTs. Jim Ryan has just gone, I didn't know, pal, and he's just ran away for now. But we do have a statement from Phil Spencer, who just says that overall people are still figuring this stuff out. He says there's a lot of speculation and experimentation that's happening, and that some of the creative that I see today feels more exploitative than about entertainment. So it is that, I think Phil Spencer, of all the executives, has his head screwed on in the right way. Dude grew up as a gamer, as a coder. He knows what's a favor. So in regards to where Xbox are at, you shouldn't be seeing any Xbox first party stuff delve into the NFT business. But third party stuff, it's going to be hands are flailing, flying down the slide, wee, for as much as they possibly can until we get in the way.
Totally, man. And I just know, I can feel it in my heart. This isn't the last time we're going to be talking about this year at all. We're a few days into the year, and I feel like loot boxes, like microtransactions, this is going to be the dominant, controversial thing that we're talking about all year, and we're on this mad roller coaster ride. We're going to see how it goes.
What day are we on? We're on January 6th. So 6 days into 2022 is as long as it's taken for us to have a conversation on NFTs. So let us know what you think down in the comments below. Are there any, I'm almost trying to look for a positive. Are there any positive implementations of NFTs going forward in video games? And what do you think of the statements that have been put out so far and the general state of the idea of paying for ownership itself in a video game space? For now, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
I've been Josh from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
NFTs.